Hi everyone, welcome back to What is This Weapon? And I have chosen for you, on the one hand, something very generic, a Kalashnikov AK pattern rifle, or carbine if you prefer, it is shorter, but specifically a Romanian variant. And this is the, well, it has a couple of different names. This is the shortened version of the PM86 or Model 86, Model 1986. So this is the Romanian analogue to the Russian, well, Soviet, and then Russian, Ukrainian, whoever, AK-74 series. So they had their own parallel development of AKs, and they did fairly closely follow the AK-74 development. Notably, a steel magazine in the traditional ribbed style, not the polymer magazine on the Soviet version. A quite different side folding buttstock, which we'll see on this one, but while I have this one out, it's a push button at the rear and it pivots. So it works the same way, it's just a different design. Now this is pretty much a lift from the East German, or an East German buttstock design, so-called crutch. I always think it looks a bit like a golf club, but Poland as well used a variation of this. They're all slightly different in shape and profile and construction, so you can usually tell which one is which. And the somewhat iconic front grip on the full-length rifle and on some short variants, but not this one, at least not on ours. I have seen pictures of some with that, but from the factory they seem to have shipped with polymer upper handguard, this is the same, polymer upper handguard and a laminate wood lower. It's just that on this one it's without the curved vertical foregrip. Curved so that you can execute a reload with a 20 round magazine. So kind of bear this in mind. Oh, it does have the side rail as well, but so does the AK-74N and the AKS-74. So I thought this is a particularly rare, relatively speaking, variant, so I wanted to focus on this one. If you do want a deep dive on Romanian AK variants in general, I thoroughly recommend Rob Stott's channel, YouTube channel, where he does videos on particular countries' AKs or specific variants, and his series of books, the AK-47 catalogue, which I think volume 13 is the one you would need for this. So definitely check his stuff out. We're going to focus on this one because it's kind of it's with short AKs, people inevitably think of the Soviet AKS-74U with its skeleton buttstock, same as the AKS-74, of course. Different design to this. It's hinged top cover and very different rear sight arrangement, and it's even shorter barrel than this, and it's muzzle booster on the end there. This is almost a sort of mid-length design, maybe sort of between the AKS-74U and something like the AK-105, which is sort of mid-length, or indeed the Yugoslav-derived Iraqi short assault rifle, which we showed previously. Ours is gold-plated, and I think the only ones ever to be made were gold or chrome-plated, but that's sort of somewhere between, lots of different barrel lengths, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So the PM Model 94 is what we're calling this, what the manufacturer called it, in fact. But these are made prior to 1994. This one was made in 89. I'll show you the trunnion marks on this, which very plainly, as well as the serial number, show you the full year, 1989. So arguably, this may not be a Model 94. It might be a Model 86 Carbine, which is the other term that is applied to these. It's slightly confusing. As far as I can tell, it seems that it was designed as early as, well, the late 80s at the very least, and then only substantially manufactured and marketed 1994 onwards, hence the manufacturer gave it that name. Main reason for this confusion is that this was never actually adopted as a Romanian military arm, to my knowledge. Its predecessor in 7.62 by 39 was the PM Model 80, So in 1980, they're still using 545 and 762 in parallel, as indeed Russia and other countries have done. So the original short version, which has a pivoting butt plate on the buttstock. So similar kind of folding stock, but straighter and with a folding butt plate. We don't have that one. We do have, not to bombard you too much, but we do have the PM Model 90, which is exactly the same as the one we're going to go into in a bit more detail, but in 762 by 39. And I'm not clear if this entered Romanian military service either. There's a lot of commercial sales of this going on, and in fact both of these are marked in a sort of commercial manner, shall we say. This one with SAR, safe automatic repetition, fairly standard international markings. So this one at least is an export version. Maybe some Romanian security services purchased these as well. I assume that the Model 90, the Model 80 is the one that was retained as a strictly military weapon for vehicle crews and the like. If you know more, do let me know if either of these actually saw Romanian Army service. This one, I'm told, certainly didn't. So, having thrown multiple different rifles at you, let's go back to this one. Now, some of the features on this are standard Romanian across the family. So that buttstock, as noted, already standard. This canted cocking handle, straight on just about every other AK you've ever come across. That's a Romanian feature. That's on the MD.86 rifle and basically every variant as well. We've got, so this one, it's not marked SAR, it's marked, so no marking for safe. It goes straight to infinity, which, as I've recently learned in the Metal Gear games, means that the weapon literally has infinite ammunition.
Ah, I get it. Yep, that'll give you unlimited ammo.
I mean, that'll give you unlimited ammo, mate. What do you want me to say?
But he's just said it's a 100-round magazine.
Yeah, but it's shaped like an infinity symbol. Infinity's unlimited. I don't know what you're confused.
So auto, first setting on an AK, always auto, unless it's semi-auto only, of course. And then down to 1 for semi. And then there's another setting almost off the bottom of the gun, which is 3 for 3-round burst. Now that's not unique to the carbine version either. That is on the full size rifle. So one of a number of nations to decide that we're going to automate the burst firing process and see how that goes. And the answer is always terribly. I think 2-round burst maybe questionably, possibly is worth having. 3 and up, I would say not, although your mileage may vary. Not a big fan of burst, practically speaking. We'll have a look at the burst mechanism when we take this apart, but let's just finish off. So rear sight, they have accommodated for the fact that it's a short rifle or carbine, and it only goes to 400 meters. So quite a sparse looking sight ladder. Now, this doesn't have a P on it, but the 762/39 equivalent, which goes to 500, interestingly, no real reason why they would have different graduations there. If anything, 545 is flatter shooting and should, well, anyway, that's what they did, so that's what's on there. Reason for going back to this one is to show you the P, which is the battle sight setting. Most AKs have it. That's P for Priviste. As ever, forgive my pronunciation, but so you know when you set, that means field or kind of battlefield sight setting, I guess is the implication of that word. So that one definitively has it. It always sits on that little flap there at the back, regardless of what AK you're looking at. So on this one, we have a rear position, but it isn't flat. It doesn't have a flat per se, and it isn't marked. So all we do nonetheless have a minimum setting that is off the bottom, but it isn't marked, and it isn't quite configured in the same way. That's just a straight ramp. So our first, there are multiple notches though, but our first labeled setting is for 100, which puts the sight at that angle. We do have some Romanian specific markings. They are essentially, we'll try and get you a close up of these. They are inspection markings for the Kugia plant. So there are a couple of different plants in Romania that produced these, but I guess the majority are from Kugia. Same plant that supplied the US commercial market. And in fact, some of you in the US might know this as the Draco, which is legally a pistol where it doesn't have a buttstock fitted, which is how a lot of them were imported and became somewhat known. But the actual Select Fire version is somewhat rare, I guess because they weren't particularly popular. And I do tend to forget you have to press the catch to release this buttstock. It's not one that you can simply rip open in a hurry, and if you try, it's not going to go well for you, but nonetheless. And then front end, we have this form of combined gas block front sight. Other countries have done this. This is a unique pattern with this hole milled into it in this position and in this shape, distinctive to the AK-74U, which is just the sight. Well, it's not just the sight, it's also integrated, but it's a lot more sparse, shall we say, a lot less chunky, let's put it that way. And 74U has a little sling loop integrated into it. In this case, we have a sling loop on the front cap of the handguard, which is the other AK way to do it. There. So, pretty conventional. This sort of semi-gloss black finish over, I think, a phosphate. I have seen just a phosphate finish as well. I'm not sure of the reason for the difference there. We do also have British proof marks on here because this has been imported and proofed. So we've got London proof mark on the receiver, the bolt, the barrel. And that's kind of by the by. That's just sort of legally how it can be sold in the UK. And right at the end, we have a fairly conventional flared birdcage style flash suppressor. So not a booster. It's not short enough to require the extra boost of the chamber on the muzzle device that's on the AK-74U. It's a fairly conventional, I keep saying the word conventional, birdcage, but it is sort of flared out as well. But this is typical on the short Romanian variants. So let's just strip this down to show you the internal differences and the 3-round burst mechanism, because it is quite an elegant burst mechanism compared to things like the M16A2. So it's all very standard AK. Try not to get oil all over this tablecloth. I don't think that ship has sailed. So we have a conventional length bolt carrier, obviously the bolt that rides within it. Normal length bolt carrier, and then just a shortened piston. Not as short as on the AK-74U, but shorter than on the Model 86 full-length rifle. We can remove the gas tube as well, but there's nothing really to show you under there. So let's jump straight to the burst mechanism. And we'll get in there with the camera and show you in detail, but it's essentially just a lever with teeth at both ends that counts off the shots and then disconnects the trigger. So it will only fire 3 shots on automatic and then stop. So we can demonstrate that with the camera in close-up. This does work like the M16 burst system insofar as it won't reset itself automatically. The HK burst system does, so you always get 3 rounds or 2 rounds every time you pull the trigger. The Colt system and this Romanian AK system can only fire, like you have to fire a complete burst, like reset the trigger, fire a complete burst. If you fire and let go and sort of outpace the rate of fire, you will get 1 shot, and the next trigger pull you'll get 2 shots, or you'll fire 2 shots and the next trigger pull will get you 1 shot. So it's a very unsatisfactory way to do a burst mechanism if you're going to do one. The problem is that the HK system is super complicated in order to have it fully reset after whatever number of shots. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. So from this position here, hammer is cocked, 3-round burst is selected, and we are reset. The rear of this tooth lever pushes the sear off and allows the hammer, pushes the sear off the hammer, and the hammer falls. So as long as that's in contact, that sear is pushed back, and you don't have to, you're not doing it with the trigger, in other words. So first shot, you do pull the trigger, you go forward, that releases the hammer, whole thing cycles back under gas pressure, comes forward, and as it comes forward, that toothed lever is still holding back the sear, which means as soon as the auto sear is tripped as the bolt carrier comes forward, the hammer flies forward, the lever has dropped down one at the back, fires, cycles again, the lever's dropped down into the next notch, so almost off the bottom of the sort of secondary sear, and as it comes forward, the auto sear drops the hammer, or the auto sear and the burst mechanism sear, and you holding the trigger, that's sort of all three things disengaged, drops the hammer for a third time. That puts that tooth lever in the bottom position at the rear, out of engagement with the sear can now go forwards, meaning that when the system cycles a third time and comes forward, auto sear and your finger are operating the system, but the burst mechanism isn't now. So that little secondary lever at the side is kept in the forward position. It's not being pushed back by any of the teeth, and the gun doesn't fire. So that's 1, 2, 3. Let's run through that again. So whole system resets when you let go of the trigger. Fire 1, bolt comes back, comes forward, drops the hammer, lever drops down 1, drops down 2, drops down 3, and then it's out of engagement. So a little bit hard to explain without really getting in there, or Cutaway, or World of Guns or something. Guys, maybe do this one next. But those of you who've come across burst mechanisms before should be able to puzzle that out without us stripping this whole thing down, which frankly is not going to happen. Not by my hand anyway. So there we are, just one of many Kalashnikov variants and one of quite a few Romanian Kalashnikov variants, but one that I was looking at in the process of cataloguing the collection, which is an ongoing effort. I think we worked out that we would all be in our 80s by the time we managed to finish basic level cataloguing of the 27,000 firearms in this collection. But so I'm not complaining, it's a fun thing to do, and it sometimes goes hand in hand with presenting these things to you because I see something that's interesting or rare or unusual or all of those things. And there's not a huge amount of history to dive into with this one, but I think if you've ever wondered what the military equivalent, or in this case export, of the Draco pistol is, well, this is it. And again, do check out Rob Stott's work on the AK series, which involves this collection as well as many others, and is well worth taking a look at. Thanks for watching, as ever. And as ever, we do have our 3 museum buildings that you can come and visit if you're in the UK or able to visit those. All of them are worth a look. Speaking of which, this little guy is our new lapel pin or brooch, for however you care to wear it, which is our Sexton self-propelled gun, which you can see in person in the metal down at Fort Nelson, which is our artillery museum. And or buy yourself one of these from the shop. So you'll be able to find the shop on the website, or link will be in the description to that. Please do also check out the History of Weapons and War app to see if that's something you might be interested in. We're over there as well, same content but ad-free, and various other excellent YouTube channels to do with firearms and history are signed up there as well. Some of them have bonus content you can't see on YouTube. It's all ad-free. As a paid-for service. If you're into this kind of thing, I strongly recommend checking that out. Otherwise, do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, the bell thing if you want to. We do still have our Gladiators exhibition on as well, so again, if you're able to visit us, check that out. But otherwise, we'll see you here again on What Is This Weapon next week.